Hey guys, Jeff Francoeur here. Thanks for listening to our content, and please like and subscribe. Well, we had a great time today talking to Alex Guerrero, well known for Tom Brady's trainer, TB12, but I think what was cool was being able to dig in farther. Some other athletes he's worked with, he kept talking about hydration, I thought, which was real important. I know I'm not the best at hydration, but I thought he had a lot of good stuff from recovery to, I think, also advice to parents who come in. Talked about helicopter parents, I thought, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, and he just talked about a lot the difference between recovery versus, what do you call it, precovery?
Yep.
I guess what it would call a term, kind of like proactively preparing your body and helping your kid prepare their body for competition, giving the best shot of being successful, but also, avoiding injury.
Yeah, I thought it was cool because he talked how he worked with different guys, including Brady, where you'd work with him for a few days, get him healthy, then you'd see him again in 2 months and the same thing happened. And I thought it was cool. I said, eventually we came to the idea, well, I need to see how these people are training. How can we keep them on the field without doing it? So I thought that was cool. And I think he made a great point that I always prided myself in baseball. I played for 12 years and I never was on the injured list one time.
Wow.
And for me, that was always such a cool. I get there's freak accidents. You're going to get hit sometimes. You're going to break a leg. Mm-hmm. But I thought it was cool because I truly believe when you're available, that's when you're best to a team.
Yeah, that was a great quote.
I love that.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at, a lot of people may, kind of question some of his methods, and that's really for everybody to kind of decide on their own. But, the poster child that he puts out there is Tom Brady. Yeah, and if you look what he looked like when he first entered the league and what he looked like, he got better looking. I mean, I don't know how that he got in better shape and better looking. Yeah. So
there's very few of us that can, as we get older, can get better looking. So I hope you enjoy the podcast. Thanks. Jeff Francoeur here with Pure Athlete. Before we get to today's guest, I want to share with everyone that we have our first partnership with Booster. Now, Booster is the high school sports #1 athletic fundraising for teams and groups. And their owner and CEO is a good buddy of mine, go to church with him, and a great guy. And instead of me telling you what it is, I'm going to bring him on. So Chris Carneal, thanks for joining us.
Jeff, thanks so much. So excited to sponsor Pure Athlete. Love your message, love your vision, love the heart and the values behind it. I'm a former college athlete. I'm a coach of my boys and my daughters as well, basketball and baseball. And our company I started 20 years ago, we work with schools, K through 12, and we serve them by raising funds. The past 20 years, we've raised schools, teams, and groups over $600 million, and we want to continue to serve more schools. So if you're interested in hearing how we can come to your sports team, your school, or your group, choosebooster.com.
Again, go to choosebooster.com. Chris, thanks for being a part of this. A big supporter of youth athletics, high school athletics, and we're looking forward to a good partnership with you, man.
Absolutely. Love what you guys are doing. Look forward to serving and helping schools raise funds.
Back with Pure Athlete, I'm Jeff Francoeur along with Brad Williams. Britt Lee had a prior engagement today, so we're going to have the two heavy hitters today, and we're excited about today's guest. We've had a lot of great, obviously, athletes, different things, but today is a guy that's going to join us who was part of TB12 and now does TBR, total body recovery, and just an expert in this field. So without ado, Alex Guerrero, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, gentlemen. Good morning. It's good to be on.
Good morning.
Yeah, we're honored to have you, man. And I know you're going to bring a lot of great stuff for our parents and coaches and athletes today, but just to get started, kind of, let us know how you kind of got into all of this and, what you're doing now.
Yeah, well, it was a long journey. I'll tell you that. It's been a little over 30 years now. And, I ended up getting my master's degree in traditional Chinese medicine back then. And I always felt like there was, at least then, right there was no internet then. There was no cell phones. It was, you had to go out and you kind of ate what you killed type of thing. And you had to go out and network the old fashioned way. And sports was always something that I really enjoyed. My father played professional basketball in Argentina. And he also played on their club soccer team, so we always grew up with sports. So I loved it. I didn't gain a lot of size. I was the run of the litter, if you will. And so I never really got this big, but I loved sports, and I ended up playing tennis through high school. And so when I ended up finishing my degree in traditional Chinese medicine, I got involved in sports and worked with all the local high school kids in the area, helping them. Really got heavily involved at the time in track and field, because track and field was something that, kids who played multiple sports ran. So I could kind of, touch every sport, whether there was, female athletes, male athletes, where they played basketball, volleyball, or football. They seemed to all ran track. So that's kind of how I got started, and ended up moving, into collegiate level and then the pro level, and worked with USA Track and Field, and then ended up working with other countries, and slowly made my way as the track guys then played football. As they got injured, I would go into football, and then when they went from college into the pros, and they got hurt, I kind of followed them up into the pros, and then over the course of the years, it's kind of now come to where it's been.
Yeah. Well, so obviously you're known for working with Tom Brady, but kind of who was your first athlete, whether it be an Olympian or whether it be a pro athlete, that you kind of like said, okay, this is, I think this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, and it kind of gave you the credibility in the athletic space to be the guy that you became?
Yeah, there were a lot, but I think early on, there was a running back played at UCLA. His name was Sharman Shah, ended up becoming Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, then later Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and ended up playing for the Dolphins for a stint. And I, that was kind of my segue in. And then it became a lot of different folks. It's a long list of people that really blessed my life and impacted me and helped me learn and grow in this space. A lot at the beginning, because like I said, there was no internet at the time. There were no cell phones. There was no anything that what you studied and you learned, you went and got through, books that were written by other experts in the field at the time. Or it was, experience, a lot of trial and error back in the day, things that it worked and you did again, and things that didn't, you didn't do again. And so I really have an appreciation for really all the guys. It was, everybody in track and field, basketball, baseball, hockey, overseas into, lacrosse. And so anyway, a lot of wonderful, wonderful people impacted my life and helped me get to where I'm at.
How much has it changed? I broke into the big leagues in 2005 with baseball, and when I got done in that, 13-year period, it was amazing, the difference of strength training, nutrition, all that. I mean, when I came in 2005, it was like guys were eating McDonald's before games. You half the guy, 3/4 guys didn't even touch a weight all year. So, when you early on, how was it for you to get guys to kind of buy in to what you were talking about?
Yeah, early on, it was really more about, injury rehabilitation, right? Like guys would go out and play, they'd get hurt, they'd come see me, I'd help them, get better, put them back out to play, they'd get hurt, I'd see them again. And, probably partway through, I remember an track, I think, had hammy issues, and he'd come in, we'd fix his hamstring, and he'd go out and run and do a couple events, come back, with another hammy issue. And I thought, I really should go watch the way this guy runs or trains. Like there's obviously something going on at a deeper level that, I haven't obviously dealt with or seen yet. So then I would go watch him run and I'd train, and I thought, oh, now it makes sense. Like this is why he keeps hurting his hamstring. So as we altered, some things in his training program and the way he worked out, then he never had hamstring issues again. And so that's what kind of got me into, looking at the whole component of an athlete. It wasn't just, when they got hurt, I'll fix them and send them back. They get hurt, I'll fix them, send them back. It was, in traditional Chinese medicine, we learned that the body is a whole, right? You look at treating someone from an emotional, mental, physical perspective. And so as we started to get through just dealing with injuries, then we started to look at what their, mental state was, what their emotional state was, what they felt about working out, how they worked out, what they felt about what they put in their mouth, I always said, an athlete isn't, not what you eat, it's what you eat has eaten. So you could get into even deeper principles of nutrition at that point, which I think if your body's feeling good, from an emotional perspective, then mentally you're going to feel better. And if you're there, then physically you're going to feel better. So I think they're all really closely connected. And the buy-in really started when I noticed that I could keep people from getting injured. And that's really where, athletes is like, you just want to feel good. You can play for a long time as long as you're feeling good. It's tough to go out there and grind it out, when you're not feeling good. And then you're trying to alter your mechanics because something hurts and you're trying to not make it hurt. And then you get good at doing it bad. And then it's a slippery slope. And then pretty soon, people start to, cop to age. And then it's like, well, you're getting a little long in the tooth and you're a little older now. So you might want to think about hanging it up and
get into announcing.
That's right. So you're saying you went from more of a recovery kind of focus to more of a proactive, preventing injury type of focus, right?
Prehab was never even a term. No one really thought about doing things so that they didn't get hurt. They just went out and worked, and they worked with their strength coach and did their thing, and then went and played their games. And if they got hurt, it was always part of the game. So, people just blame the injuries on, well, it's just part of sports. You play, you're going to get hurt. That's just the reality. And I thought that, if we could get into prehab and really help people understand how they can, one, play without getting hurt, and then two, do what they love to do for longer, people that message seemed to resonate. And, and that's what we began to, to spread 30 plus years ago now.
So Alex, if a client comes to meet you for the first time, and I know it's probably a little different based on their age, but like, what are you looking at? How's the process goes? If you evaluate, kind of what they need and putting together, how does that whole thing work when someone comes to you for the first time, whether it's a teen athlete or a mature athlete? How's that plan kind of play out?
Yeah, really what we're looking at initially at the very beginning is to see what their ultimate goals are. There's some, young athletes that'll come and, some of them don't want to really get to the next level. They love it. They love playing now, but I don't know if they love it forever. I remember there was a young athlete that came to see me, and she was a phenomenal track athlete, just great, just, dominated high school. And I remember she had this chronic issue, and we could never really, through the evaluation process, find out what the physical reasons why she had this chronic issue. And I just remember one day she just said, you know what, Alex, I really don't want to run anymore. I just don't know how to tell my parents. And so, that's when it really dawned on me. So now when people come and see me initially, I always try to get them to write down what their goals are for what they're looking to accomplish. How long do you want to play for? Do you want to play at the next level? Are you mentally, emotionally ready for what that means to get ready to compete at the next level? Talking to their parents. So we try to make it really a collective group team effort, so that we have buy-in everywhere. Because as you all know, youth sports now has progressed to where people almost need to just pick a sport early and just do that if you want to play at the next level. When my kids were growing up, we could cross train. Now it's year round. And so you really need to make some good decisions and be very goal oriented, and then make sure that everybody is on the same page.
You know the body well, and you're talking about it. We had a doctor on about a month or two ago, was talking about the injuries because of specializations in sports. And he was saying, I'm not necessarily saying you can, it's not good to only pick one sport, but knowing the body like that, my guess is your body has to have a break at times too, right? To recover. It's got to have an ability to just take a rest.
This is a great conversation. I always tell people, look, your ability to perform is only as good as your ability to recover. So if you have a great recovery program, go at it, have a great time. I learned that in my opinion and in experience that, the brain doesn't really know time. It doesn't know right or wrong, and it doesn't know good or bad. It just knows what you teach it. So if you can create, go out and perform your activity, and your recovery program is great to where you're creating these neural pathways for recovery where your body never feels like it's overloaded or overstressed, you can do what you love doing for a long time. I think that where parents and or trainers of youth athletes need to focus is on because youth athletics is so competitive today and people need to be so hyper focused on the sport that they have chosen, I think the cross training perspective of that needs to come in who they train with their personal trainer. If you're a right-handed thrower, you should probably in your training do some left-handed throwing as well, right? If you're a right-handed hitter, you should also do some left-handed rotational stuff. So I think a lot of kids' ability to recover and do what they, their sport for long-term, a lot of that has to do with how they train.
So Alex, you're big on, and I want to make sure I'm acting like I know what I'm talking about, and I really don't. So I'm trying to sound like I know what I'm talking about here. But pliability is kind of one of the big things that you really emphasize in terms of flexibility. And can you talk about that and just how important that is for injury prevention and for actually performing better?
Yeah, I remember Tom and I were talking one day. This is early on in our relationship. We were working. He goes, Alex, what is it exactly that you do here? Like, I don't, I know how I feel, but I don't even know what to call it. I'm like, I don't even really know either. Like, it was a technique I developed. It worked. I've been using it forever. I didn't really call it anything. He goes, well, what's it doing to my tissues? I'm like, well, it's really, kind of making them more pliable. And that's how the word came about at the time. Because flexibility for me was always ligament laxity, right? You can stretch and get really flexible, but your muscles can still get hurt. Like people could still pull a muscle even though they're flexible. So flexibility was always ligament laxity to me. Pliability was having your muscles be, long and unrestricted, and then able to support the forces that you're putting on them through your movement. And so to me, there were only two things at the time that were really evidence-based. One was manual therapy, and the other was strength and conditioning work. So we became very focused on strength and conditioning, lifting weights and running and being functional and doing a lot of functional movement based on, not just the sport you were playing, but the position you were playing. And then making sure that your muscles were long and unrestricted and able to support the forces that you were putting on them. And that's how the word pliability came about. And heck, Tom and I laugh about it now because now everybody uses it. I drove by this physical therapy place not too long ago, and in the window it says, we do pliability treatments here. Like I thought, wow, that was pretty cool.
You didn't get it trademarked, huh? Unfortunately.
Yeah, I was going to say. You think about all the athletes so that you've worked with, female, male, it's been an incredible list. So I want you to talk for a few minutes, maybe the 8 through 13, 14-year-old range, right? Young female, young male athletes. Obviously, what are some of the things that they might not want at that age, of course, dig all the way in, right? My 10-year-old daughter, she's a great softball player. She's going to eat some candy, I mean, it's inevitable, it is what it is. But what are some of the things that they can start to do at that age to kind of help them prepare for as they get towards that high school level?
Yeah, kids are super resilient. I love working with kids because, they heal so fast. They're great listeners. Like you tell them to turn left, they turn left. Like they're not going, why? And what if I turn here? So I love working with youth athletes, especially that 8 to 12 range. So the important thing for us is it's a great opportunity for us to be able to spend time with their parents as well and help their parents understand the value of, what a pliability treatment would look like. So for example, let's say, your daughter's going to go out and play and she's, play soccer and, you want to just get her, legs primed, through her nervous system to be active and ready to go out and run. A 10-minute, pliability session with your daughter is great for the two of you, right? You're able to have conversations during that time. You're bonding. There's a very strong emotional connection between a parent and a child when the parent is actively engaged, in the success of their child. So I think there's value there in doing it. 8 to 12, we talk the importance of hydration. It isn't so much nutrition. It's easy principles of nutrition, but like you said, they're going to go out to, they're going to go to their friend's house. They're going to eat candy or pizza or whatever it is. And they're going to enjoy that. But it's just helping them understand, how valuable hydration is for the recovery process. And for that 8 to 12 year, age gap, that would be the number one thing that I would want to encourage parents to help their kids understand just the value of hydration. Kids just don't really drink enough because they have a ton of energy. They're going all the time. They recover really fast. So it's not like they're sore the next day. They can, play a full game and go out and play another full game the next day. In some cases, you got them playing 2 games a weekend, so it's like, but really hydration would be the number one focus, because kids can do that. They can, parents can hold their kids accountable to hydration to make sure they're getting enough, the right fluids in. And then just slowly start to apply the principles of healthier, eating habits.
So, obviously we've worked with a lot of athletes. You had a great reputation, but obviously most people know you for your time working with Tom Brady. Can you tell us a little bit of that story, just how you guys met and the moment that he kind of just realized, wow, this guy can help me be really, really good. Can you kind of tell us about that?
Yeah, we met through another client of mine at the time, Willie McGinnis. He was playing, for the New England Patriots at the time. And so Willie was having some issues and helped Willie through, what he was experiencing. And then Tom had this elbow issue and it wasn't going away. And it got to the point to where he wasn't able to practice, which really freaked him out, because, he got the position because somebody got hurt, right? Like Drew Bledsoe got hurt and went out, and that's how Tom came in. So
Pip.
In the back of Tom's Wally, that's right.
Pip.
So, in the back of his mind, he was like, I can't come off the field, like, because someone else could take this job. And so, Willie introduced us. We spent the next 3 days together, working, and he never had elbow pain again. And then, we had a couple other issues. He called, I'd go out and spend another 3 days and we'd work on those. And then, those issues would go away. So, over the course of probably the next year or two, we kind of took care of a lot of things. And then he had a real serious issue and they were going to do surgery on it, and it was going to take him out for the rest of the season. And he got permission to come out and spend a few days with me out. And I was in California at the time. So the team gave him some permission to come out and spend 3 days with me. And then, we took care of that, and he never had to have the surgery and, played the remainder of the season. And after that, he's like, all right, I'm I'm good. We're doing this. We're going to get you out here, and we're going to be together. So, now we have a great bond and a great, brotherhood and friendship. And so that's how Tom and I got started.
What made him different from other athletes that you worked with?
Tom isn't afraid to get worse before he gets better. And I think some athletes, and as they get into high level, they get into routines. And, there was a reason why he started to have arm issues, right? Like the biomechanics of his throwing motion weren't, what they should be. And so he was open enough to learn about why he was having the issues. And then he was open enough to understand what it would take to actually get to where you wouldn't have to have that pain anymore. So, first, when we first started to change some of those issues for him, his throwing wasn't phenomenal, but he wasn't worried about that. He was more worried about, look, I'll perfect the throw. I just want to make sure I never hurt again. And, so as a result of that, got to the point to where, we could throw, 150, 180 balls a day and never have any soreness at all. And then he became extremely proficient. So Tom is, one, I would say, not afraid to get worse before he gets better. So he's willing to try new things. Two, his competitive edge is on another level. Like, he never takes for granted how hard it was for him to get to where he got. And so therefore he just works harder than everybody else. And so I think that, those are good qualities for, I think, youth athletes. Enough was really never enough. It was always one more. We never ended on a bad one. Like I've worked with some professional athletes that'll just make a list. I got, 5 throws to the right, 5 throws to the left, so regardless of whether it was a good one or a bad one, they would stop, right? They just kind of go through their tree, and he never did that. We always ended on, what would be the best throw of the day.
So did he jump in with 2 feet right away, or did you gradually kind of start adding more things to his regimen in terms of the nutritional aspect, in terms of the mental approaches and things like that? Or did he jump in right away, or did he kind of do it step at a time?
Yeah, it was really a step at a time. I kind of told him, look, we're going to go line upon line and precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. I think, as athletes, as you played. So, if something is working, they want to do it, and then they want to do it more, right? because it's working. And some of them are afraid to try new things. If it doesn't work, they certainly don't want it to hurt what has been working. So with him, it was the same. It was here a little, there a little. And as he started to feel the benefits of it, he would then ask more questions. We would do a deeper dive and we would add more. At the beginning, it was, again, helping him understand the value of hydration. Then it was, getting him to eat this way instead of that way, or add this instead of that, or, then incorporating, maybe you should go to sleep at this hour so we can get this many hours of recovery time in our sleep. So it was little by little.
Well, I tell you what, the picture of him at the combine and compare it to the picture of him at 45 years old. I mean, it's you had a pretty good poster child for what you're teaching, because you just look at the difference. And I mean, again, he may be different than everybody else, but it definitely worked.
I got to ask you this, because I know you worked with upwards of 15, 20 Patriots guys, at the time. When I was playing baseball on some of these different teams, we had different guys that were kind of helping us outside of what the team were. Why do you think these teams are so, because in baseball, man, it was like we had to almost hide someone who would come in and work on us in like a back room and not even tell anybody. And here it was helping us. It was helping us win ball games, which made the organization look better, but yet they didn't want to allow it. And why do you think there's such a disconnect there, right? If you were an organization, wouldn't you want the best?
Yeah, you would think so. I would early on, before I started, was a lot like that, right? Like, and I would always say, like, I don't know why you're mad at us outsiders. Like, if you were really good at your job, we wouldn't be here. Like, so, but interestingly, I think as I got deeper into it over the years, and certainly have been involved in a lot of team environments, know them, it's really hard to be, a team athletic trainer and training staff. They have a lot of guys to deal with. So it's a lot of guys with a lot of different issues. They're limited on time. And so I would say that over the years, it's gotten better.
Yeah.
It's still not great, right? Like, everybody still has kind of their own guy, and it's still not great. It could be even better than it is. But I think that they're just a lot more overwhelmed, understaffed. As I go in and evaluate some teams, as I go in, I'm like, wow, you're really understaffed here. You just don't have enough hands. So then it leads them into using modalities and all these different things that, like I would spend time with Tom, like at the beginning, I had, an hour and a half of uninterrupted time. And we would do that 2-3 times a day. So over the course of the day, Tom and I would spend anywhere between 3 and, 6-7 hours together.
We had Ryan Suckup on, who played for the Buccaneers, and he talked about seeing you guys, you had a kind of a pregame routine that Tom went through, and just how impressed. He was super impressed with just how intentional you guys were and really being pros. Both of you guys working together to have him ready to be the best spot he can be for a game, and he talked a lot about that.
Yeah, he was phenomenal. Ryan was, a great example to the younger guys in the team. Certainly a lesson on longevity. He played for a long time at a high level, won a Super Bowl. Like, there couldn't really be a better human being than Ryan Suckup. Just a great guy. But he really, he had his physical issues as well, right? Like a lot of athletes do. And he loved playing and wanted to continue to be the best he could for his team. And I think if you really want to be the best for your team, then you need to do the best for yourself. And he realized that, there was something out there that could help him, be the best performer that his team needed at the time. And so that's how we got together and helped him through his issues.
So now we progress a little bit more. You're 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old, female, male, playing in high school, playing travel ball, AAU, whatever it is. And you feel like you have a chance to go to the next level. What are some of the things now that these athletes can do to kind of add to get them over that hump, to get them into college and beyond?
So, like you mentioned earlier, your 8 to 12 age group, as we talked a little bit about the hydration component, but I think 8 to 12, they need to really do a lot of functional movement stuff, get in with more resistant bands and not quite go quite as heavy. Now, as you get into that, like that 14 to 18 range where they really want to get to the next level, that's where they really got to start working on their strength and conditioning. Get with a great, coach who can really get you on a great lift program, and then you continue to apply what you did from 8 to 12 with your your hydration, your nutrition, your recovery. Now you kind of take it to a deeper level where your recovery is more intense, a little bit longer time period than normal, and then you really dive into strength and conditioning. That's when you're really doing your weights. You're getting more powerful. You're getting bigger, faster, stronger, and that's how I think that you can then take it really to the next level. And again, the same principle applies. Your ability to perform is only as good as your ability to recover. And what's interesting is you look at that age group from 16 or 14 to really 18 or 20, when they get through high school, then into college. Hormonally, their bodies are very adaptable. Like they can kind of really continue to do what they did that whole time, and really create these neural pathways of function, like great movement patterns, really hone in on their skills, and become really proficient. It isn't until you become like 20 to 25 that you start to notice like, oh, it's not quite the same as it was in high school or right early time in college. And then from 25 to like 30, that's when athletes, the pros, are like, now I'm really not recovering the same. Because you do have hormone shifts every 5 years. And I think athletes, what they need to do is they need to think about their training programs based off those hormone shifts that occur with each 5-year cycle.
I love that, because I think if I could go back, I got called up to the big leagues at 21, and I could go out for a Sunday day game my rookie year, and I wouldn't even stretch. I mean, I could run like 1 or 2 sprints and was ready to go. And by the time I was 35, man, I felt like I needed 6 hours to get ready for a Sunday day game, So, I completely agree with that. One word I keep hearing you use is hydration a lot. And I'm just curious, it seems to be a big thing. How big is hydration in an athlete's performance?
Well, your body's 80% water. So I think that, if you're looking at how athletes get dehydrated, first of all, you get dehydration through simply breathing, right? You exhale, you're losing some fluids through your exhale. You're obviously working out. Sleep, like these are little things that athletes don't realize, that they actually lose fluids. It's not just the mere fact that you're sweating through the hour and a half or 2 hours that you're practicing your craft, and you sweat, and then you want to go, pound some sort of sports drink.
Yeah.
It really is understanding how valuable it is when you first wake up in the morning to get hydrated, because you got dehydrated through the course of your 7 or 8 hour night of sleep. And so, I always tell people, like, water isn't enough for an athlete. Like, you better have some form of electrolytes, whether it's a little bit, you want to mix in and make your own in the morning, no problem. But you better get some sort of, salt fluid mixture first thing in the morning. And then, I encourage our athletes to kind of do half their body weight in ounces a day. If you can get there, then through the course of your, career, whether it's, high school, college, pro, if you can get into that routine, then you're really nourishing your tissues, and your percentage chance for soft tissue injury goes way down. So I always say the most inexpensive thing you can do to keep from getting a soft tissue injury is to hydrate.
Yeah.
So Alex, we're talking about teenagers and the struggle that they have in terms of eating right and getting their bodies ready for performing. What's one thing that you would stress that they should avoid? And what's one thing that they should really eat a lot of if they're wanting to have their optimal performance?
Wow. Well, I would say avoid would be, try to avoid as much sugar as you possibly can. Sugar is a great pro-inflammatory. So, which is the hardest one for kids, is everything that they, a lot of the processed foods and things that they eat have a lot of sugar in it. So I would say try to avoid sugar the best you can. And then I would say try to eat as much whole food as you possibly can. Stay away from like your boxed items, your highly processed foods. The more whole foods you can eat as a youth athlete, the bigger the bang for your buck you're going to get, as you grow into your career. Like if you have kids that are eating whole foods in, that 8 to 12 range, they are going to be healthier, stronger, fitter at that, 12 to 18 range. And if they continue to do it through that 12 to 18 range, they're going to be bigger, faster, stronger, fitter, when they make it to the bigs. And now, you played in the pros, it's a game of inches. Like every little thing matters. And now you're competing against another guy who's really talented. So I always tell people that, ability got you to the league, availability keeps you in the league. And so if you can maintain or develop these healthy habits young and you take them into your, growing up career, then you'll play for a long time.
So looking at, younger athletes, and you've worked with plenty, what are some of the mistakes that you see them make, whether it's diet, training, recovery? What are some things that younger athletes do that you're like, don't do that?
I would probably say lift real heavy too early. I like young athletes to be functional.
Yeah.
I like them lift. I don't mind them lifting and doing a strength and conditioning program. I think a lot of them, they'll get a little excited and they start to lift heavy early. I had a father who brought his son into me, pitcher, super talented. Kid was 14, but ended up having Tommy John surgery at 14, and he was phenomenal. He could throw some heat, but this kid, and then we never even, made it to college, but never made it out. Like, I think, some of those principles they were applying early, just, he put on too much load too early and it impacted him. Right. So I would say, lifting too heavy too early would be a mistake in my opinion. See a lot of injuries that way. But I would think that the other thing that athletes need to do is learn some form of recovery, whether it's, through these devices that are out there, whether it's a Theragun or a Hypervolt or all these devices that are there. I think if they start to do that early, there's another good device out there called the Castleflex, which is a self-help device that I think is extremely effective for young athletes to use in helping their tissue stay more pliable and, long and unrestricted so that they could recover and go right back at it. I think self-care for young athletes is extremely valuable. I don't think enough of them do it, right? Because they feel so good, right? They go out, they practice, they come back and they feel pretty good. So helping them become better educated in the value of prehab, I think is valuable for young athletes.
Finishing up here, few more questions for you, but I want to give you kind of an opportunity to tell us about your new company, TBRX, and kind of what that is all about.
Thank you for that. TBRX is, as like you mentioned before, it's total body recovery. We had TB12 and, initially people were a little confused. They didn't know if TB12 was our lifestyle part of our company or the services side. And we had some centers, we had services where we provided services. And so, going into this year, we thought it would be probably a good idea to separate the two of those, from our products side of our company to now our services side. So the services component to what TB12 was is now TBRX, the total body recovery. And it's geared more for kind of helping practitioners through an affiliate program learn, our method of taking care of the body and helping people get out of pain and do what they love to do for longer. And so now we have affiliates all over the nation and people that have learned, our techniques of doing things. And so, we're really appreciative of people that are interested in what we provide and how we can provide it. And so that's really what TBRX is now about.
Awesome. Well, Alex, thank you so much. I'm sure our audience is going to love this, and it's just so applicable to parents and athletes. And
I got one more question.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, just thinking. You've talked a lot to the athletes, to coaches, different things. I think what's one thing that if you can share with parents that they can do to best give their kids an opportunity to, not just look, everybody wants to play in college and the pros, but to be a great high school athlete, to play at the high level that they can. What are one or two things that parents can really do for their kids from this standpoint?
I would say one, just be a great cheerleader. I see a lot of helicopter parents, their kids come in, they're hurt, and these parents are just on them and they drive them and drive them and drive them. I'm like, holy smokes, your kid's in 6th grade, like pump the brakes. Like you're like, So like I mentioned before, some of the best athletes we never even see at the next level because they simply just broke down. They couldn't keep up. So I would say, one, parents, just be the absolute best cheerleader for your kids. That's why I love professional athletes. I think make the best athlete parents, because what it takes to get there. You like, look, Tom didn't even play at Pop Warner football. He didn't really play in high school. But his parents are just the best cheerleaders. They support him, always told him he was the best one on the field, even when he wasn't. And so that drove him. So I would say, one, be the best cheerleader. Two, really have good conversations with your kids. I mentioned this, this girl earlier who really didn't want to run track at the next level, but, she really didn't know how to talk to her parents. So I would think, having good, honest, open communication with the progress of your kids and how they're doing. And do you love it? Do you want to keep doing it? Mom and I want to support you 100%. We're here for you in every way. But, we want it to be your decision too. This is a team effort here. It's a group effort. And so I think an open, honest conversations early with kids. And then the other thing that is then if you do decide that that's what it's going to be, give them all the tools that they need to help them be the absolute best they can be. And whether or not that's, learning self-pliability treatments or learning pliability, you can spend some time with your kid to make sure your kid doesn't get hurt or all those, just making sure that they, or give their kids the best opportunity to succeed. Those would be the three things that I would encourage parents to do.
Man, we can't thank you enough. That's great. I love talking to the athletes, but at the same time, guys like you behind the scenes are the ones that keep these athletes on the field and know what they're talking about. Yep. And I know our coaches, parents, and athletes will love it. So thank you for spending some time with us today, Alex. And you're talking about TBRX too. We appreciate all this, man.
Thanks, Alex.
No, thank you so much. And I wish the world of success and continued success for you guys and your Pure Athlete podcast. It really is great. And it's a wonderful service for people out there. You provide some really great information. So thank you so much for being there.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, man. Enjoy the good weather out in Vegas.
All right, you too. Enjoy that golf.
Hey guys, Jeff Rancour here. Thanks for checking out Pure Athlete, and subscribe to our channel on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you go to listen to our podcast.